Good evening. I'm Cecile Schubert, Vice President of the League of Women Voters of Berea and Madison County. The League is proud to sponsor the 2012 State of the County Address. Judge.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank all of you all for coming in. I'm going to make this a little brief. The roads are bad. Things aren't really nice outside. I have my wonderful wife and my two daughters with me, and we're on the way to the Wizard of Oz. So I'm not going to bore you. Usually like the hour and 15 minutes, I'm going to try to cut it to about 40 minutes. Tonight, really, and before I get started, I'd like to thank the League. They've been they're so involved in everything dealing with Madison County, and we're very fortunate to have people that really get involved and give their time. I've got some department heads here tonight. I want to thank them for coming. But tonight, like I kind of switch this around every couple of years, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the departments. And before I get started, I want to say that we are probably one of the most fortunate counties in the state of Kentucky out of the 120. We have continued to balance a budget. We've continued to provide and upgrade services. We haven't raised taxes. We haven't been in the position financially to lay off people. We haven't cut services. Matter of fact, the last 7 or 8 years, we have increased services. So I'm very proud of that. And I don't want to take credit for that, though. It's because of the individuals, the department heads, and the employees, because what makes me good is my department heads and my staff and the department heads' employees. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what each one of these departments does and kind of give you an idea of what's going on with each one of them. The animal shelter, Keith retired, Keith Crawford. It was a devastating blow. He'd been there 32 years. I mean, how do you cope with that much experience and then you bring somebody new in? And we tried a couple people, and it's tough. It's one of those very challenging jobs that nobody understands. They don't realize the state regs and the federal regs that we have to cope with now. So I was able to talk to Keith and get him to come back on a kind of a 2-year hiatus or whatever you call it. And he has lined it back up. He's got a great staff. First year he's back, we got a $48,000 grant that is going to enable us to build our third building out there, addition to the original animal shelter. And this will be, I don't want to call it a cat house, but that's what it's going to be. It's going to house the cats. And this will open up some space for a few more dog pens, and it'll get the cats away from the dogs. So Keith and his staff are doing a great job, and he's one of those individuals that really the physical court couldn't do without. Battlefield golf, Clay, Hamrick, how do you say enough about Clay? You know, we're going to do about 17,500 rounds this year. Some of the magistrates have talked about, well, you know, we're not making any money out there, but we didn't buy it to make money. We bought it to provide a recreational activity that would be unavailable to a lot of individuals in Madison County if we didn't have that. And really, if you want to know the key that sold buying the Battlefield golf course to the magistrates, because I had 4 magistrates and none of them played golf, was because of the sewer plant. And it was put in to service Battlefield subdivision, but we had 275 homes above this gravity flow that were put in the 40s when the depot was developed, and they had straight pipes, barrels running into the streams and running straight into the creeks and straight into the river. So the selling point with Battlefield golf course purchase was the sewer plant, because that enabled us in turn to apply for federal and state grants to sewer that whole area. Now we've got about 278 customers that are on regional sewer out there. So it was a kind of a twofold, and then it was also, and Philip, I'm going to talk about him a little bit, but we were preserving just a few more acres, 207, a matter of fact, of the golf course, which was the original battlefield of the Battle of Richmond. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that when I talk to Philip, but it was like threefold why we bought the golf course. And there have been people that have been negative about it, people have been positive about it, but I feel like 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, it'll be another asset, not only to the parks, but to the quality of life of Madison County. CSEP and EMA, that's Michael Bryant and Carl. Carl gave a report the other day, and it's just mind-boggling what they do. They've got 13, 14 employees out there, 2,500 at the safety fair. They've done hands-on training to about 7,000 people. It's unreal what they're doing. We've got almost 30,000 new tone alert radios in place, up from about 18,000. The old ones we put in the early 1900s. 1994, 1995, and 96. The radio system, $20 million new update digital was just put in. So they never stopped training. I think they had 17 tabletop exercises this past year. They're recognized as one of the best in the whole country. The state recognized them and asked them, because of their uniqueness and their efficiency, to come in and advertise and award advertisement, or really a media campaign, to make people aware of CSEP and what CSEP was about, not only in Madison County and the 10 counties that surround us, but the whole state. And they picked Carl and his staff and Michael to do that. So it's a very big credit to them to have the state ask them to do that for them. Finance, Glenna Baker, we run, last year we had about a $56 million budget, and a lot of this is CSEP. It's like the $20 million radio system. But we've got about, this year's $36 million. Glenna Baker and Angel and Mel and Linda work part-time. So we're running a $36 million budget and taking care of everything. We do all the state grants, all the federal grants. We act as a physical agent. Tuesday's court meeting, we're just finishing up with God's Pantry. We were the physical agent on the community development block grant for that. So they take care of all that, and then everything else. So I can't say enough about them. Chief Cox is here with us tonight. Chief just came in about a year ago, and he hit the ground running. And he's one of those individuals that wants the best. He wants his men to be the best. He wants to provide the best service to the residents of the county, and he's doing that. Now I'm getting a few rumors and complaints that they're doing a little bit more than they want to do, but they're getting paid 1 out of 3 days. So I think Chief's on the right track, and I think he's doing what he believes is what's in the best interest, not only Madison County Fire Department, but the residents. ISO ratings, Chief Park, who left, and then Jim took it up. And, if you look around, we're getting lower ISO ratings. We're going from 9.10s to 4.6s. And this is a huge improvement for residents out in the county as far as their homeowners insurance. So, when you can take $200 or $300 or $400 off your homeowners insurance, that's huge. And that's in part because of Jim. So they're doing a great job. Historic Properties, Philip is here tonight. What can you say? I mean, we've accumulated about 605 acres of the original battlefield. It's paid for except for the 22 acres we got off the Herndons. We just purchased another acre off Mount Zion, which will be reimbursed from battlefield preservation. We own, and a lot of people don't realize, we own 11 lots in Battlefield subdivision at $30,000 apiece, and we don't know anything on them. So we've kind of utilized that. We've got about 2 miles of walk trails out there. We hope to extend that a little bit, but we've got another priority, which we've got grant money available. So we're going to Whitehall, which I'll talk to you all a little bit about that. But Philip's doing a great job. The visitor center, more and more people are coming. We got our brown signs up on I-75, and when people see that, they get off the interstate. And when they get off the interstate in Richmond, they spend money. They stop at the gas stations, they go to the restaurants, they come out to the visitor center, they go to the park, they visit things in Richmond, they visit things in Berea. So it's very unique how the Battlefield Park and the visitor center really helps everybody involved, and we're all involved, and that's the county and the two cities. Chris Israel's here tonight, and Tom, our GIS person. I can kind of tell you all probably that we couldn't really operate without Chris. He does work for about 7 entities. They reimburse us part of his salary. He's working right now, and I'll talk a little bit when I talk about Kenny, but he's been instrumental in bringing us out of the old days into the new days, into the new age, into the technology that we all need with all our departments. Each one I mentioned tonight, Chris has been instrumental in working with each one of those departments. And right now we're working on like wireless, every department we have, getting us all online. Kenny, and I'll say a few words about that, but we couldn't have done it all without Chris. Planning and Development, Dwayne's here tonight. What can you say? I mean, we've probably got the best comprehensive plan. We've probably enforced the strictest, but we work with people as far as building codes and development as any county in the whole state. We understand that we've got codes to follow, but Dwayne and his staff understand that you have to work with people. So, you know, we give them time to do things, but we do it right. Dwayne's responsible now, his office, for the business license and the addressing. I mean, it goes on, and there's just 5 or 6 of them down there, and they're doing it all. So that's another sign of what we're doing with county government. Road department, I don't have to say anything about the road department. They're all out. They came out they all stayed home till 2 o'clock this afternoon. We're taking care of about 620 miles of county and rural secondary state roads, running 23 trucks. They take care of another 25 pickups and pieces of equipment. And they never stop. If they need to, they work their 16 hours. Last winter, we spent $340,000 in salt alone. Now, you can just about double that with the wear and tear on the trucks, the truck tires, the parts, the overtime. So a lot of people don't realize what they do. Leroy's, he's out 24 hours. It's another one of those departments that if I'm in bed, I don't know if it snows or not, because I can depend on Leroy and his staff to take care of it. Solid waste, Scott Tussey, just doing a tremendous job. I had Sally Smathers, and then, I'm trying to think. I don't want to. Bob Rasmussen, and worked with 2, and they were very diligent in their jobs. They did wonderful with what they had to do with, but it was more or less cleaning up dumps and citing people. But Scott he's stretched the solid waste department into a huge department for the county. We have started over a year ago single stream recycling, and right now we're servicing about 2,400 households in the county. We are working with Bluegrass Regional Recycling to rent the truck and pay the driver, and we're up to about $2,900 a month. and myself and the fiscal court feel like it's time to expand the service more, that we are in the process of buying our own Packer truck. We need another individual with solid waste, so we're going to hire an individual that can drive that truck. Right now we're on 5 days a month. We hope to get up to 10 days a month. We'd like in 3 or 4 years to service every individual possible with single-stream recycling in the county. And it's huge. The numbers you can't believe. I mean, people come up to me every day and talk to me about how much they appreciate recycling. And it's free. It's another thing that we do that's free. And Scott's really working hard to expand that. I had 2 families that called me from Boone Strace and said, Judge, we don't have garbage anymore. It's all recycling. So it's one of those things that's coming of age. We're behind a little bit because we got started late, because I didn't feel like that we could make it work, that we could really get people involved until we single streamed. And we finally made an agreement with Bluegrass Regional Recycling in Lexington, and now we're single streaming, and it's getting better and better and better. 911, just want to touch on that a little bit. As you all know, Richard's here. Richard was an advocate for it forever and ever and ever of consolidation. You know, Berea came in with the county, and it was one of those kind of territorial things with the city. But it was something that had to happen, and it eventually did, and it's about a $1.3 million savings to the 3 governments now. They're doing a wonderful job, but as everything else, we wear out, and they're in the process of a new CAD system and a new phone system, which is very expensive, but we're applying for grants for that. The 3 governments have pledged money for that. We did that when we consolidated. So we're in the process, and Chris is heading that up as he does in every department we have. So 911 is going to be better and better. And what the new CAD system does and the new phone system, it updates just like our sheriff with the mobile data units. It makes all this information more available to every first responder out there, whether it be police, EMS, fire. You know, they're being able to provide the best service and knowing where they're going, who's there, what they're going to run into. So that's very important that we stay updated on that, and we all agree. Mayor Barnes is here, and you know that's so important that we keep our first responders at the top of the list. Jimmy Cornelison, my best friend, the coroner, it gets more and more and more as we grow with 27 miles of I-75. You know, and I tell Jimmy all the time I wouldn't do your job for $1 million a year, and he said, well, I wouldn't do yours for $1 million a year. But he does. It's just, you know, it's unreal what he puts into that. I mean, it's part of his life, along with his family and the EMS, making sure that we've got the best coroner's office in the whole state. And I can't say enough about Jimmy. The jail. Paper called me today and wanted some comments about Doug and the job he's doing. You know, he's overwhelmed. Ronnie was there for many, many years, and Ronnie did a great job, but Ronnie was like a lot of us. He put a few things off, things maybe we could have done, but the money was tight. I mean, we were spending $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 a year out of the general fund on the jail, and that bothered Ronnie because Ronnie watched pennies, he watched nickels, and he didn't want to spend anything more than he had to. But Doug's come in, and he's prioritized things that the jail needs to do, new cameras. We're working right now on bids for a new panel to handle all the jail doors and stuff. We're looking at, we've run the wires over there to put him up to date on his computer system. So Doug's doing with what he's got to do with, he's doing an excellent job, he really is. we're running with, and because of the growth, and a lot of people don't understand, well, why do you have so many people in jail? It's because we're growing so fast. When you grow, a percentage of those people are going to be in that low percentage of getting by. They're not going to work. They're going to rely on government, whether it be local, state, or federal, and checks. And then it gets to the point where they rob and they steal and they lie and they do whatever they can do when they get hooked on a very serious problem in this county, and that's drugs. And the fiscal court has been very adamant about supporting all these programs. Jennifer Webb's here tonight, with ASAP. She's been involved in 2 or 3 programs. We're trying to support with everything we can to fight this drug problem. But it's the reason the jail runs 70, 80, even some nights 100 people over capacity. Well, what do you do about that? I mean, we budgeted a little over $1 million out of our general fund, out of taxpayers' dollars, to fund the jail over and above what it brings in. And it's one of the biggest crises that counties are facing right now. Now the states, the General Assembly's trying to help us. They're trying to get more people out on the street. Now, whether you agree with that or you don't, but some of these non-violent offenders, maybe they need to be out. But a lot of people don't feel that way. But the jails are the biggest burden on county government in the whole state of Kentucky, and they'll continue to be that way because people are going to continue to rob and steal and lie and do whatever they can to take care of their habits. So it's something that we're trying to address. Everybody, the cities are working hard, working together to do something about it. And to me, I think it's education. I think it's educating the kids, like K through 12, to make them understand what's out there and what isn't out there and what they need to do and what they don't need to do. So we're working with them. We're trying to do that. Doug's doing a great job. Jerry Combs, the sheriff. I can't say enough about Jerry. Sheriffs operate on a very limited budget, and the fiscal courts all over the state try to help them. The sheriff, they have really 3 main goals to do, and that's collect taxes, protect the courts with bailiffs, and serve warrants. But there's nothing in these 3 things that's protecting our county, and busting meth labs and busting drug people, and patrolling neighborhoods. So Jerry, he understands what he has to do, but he's trying to make it better. He's hiring part-time individuals that have training, that know what to do, but he doesn't have to pay the benefits and stuff. He's up, and I told him when we did his first budget, I said, Jerry, you have to get your road deputies down. And he said, I understand. So he's down, but he's back up with 6 part-times working under 99 hours a week, which eliminates all the benefits. And most of them, all of them, have already had the training and stuff. He has to, because of the increased district court and circuit court, it's just unreal. People don't realize 500 or 600 people on a docket in one day. You can't imagine. And now that we've gone to the old warrants are going out, and they're trying to serve them 10 years back. So this is that much more burden on them to try to serve these. So Jerry's doing an excellent job, and we're very fortunate. We're fortunate to have him. Mark Robbins, I have to say something about the county attorney because Mark does an excellent job. I mean, with what the staff he has and what he does, it's mind-boggling what's going on in Madison County. And you don't realize until you go up to district court one day and you see 500 or 600 people coming through there, and they're trying to keep them out of jail, but they're trying to keep them off the streets, and they're trying to straighten them up. So it's a tough sale. That's probably the toughest thing that we're facing as far as county government, is providing education and providing a jail cell for those people that need it. Talk a little bit about taxing districts. I know a lot of people are upset, but we've been very fortunate with our taxing districts, other than the school board, and I'm not here to knock the school board, okay? But our health department and our extension office and our EMS and the county government, library, we've been able, through the growth, to keep our tax rate the same. We haven't had to raise it. Now, there are a lot of people who are very upset with the school board. I'm not going to say anything about education, and I understand what they have to do to continue to provide the K through 12. I think maybe sometimes there ought to be a little bit more accountability, and we've got some magistrates that feel like maybe all the taxing districts ought to have a little more accountability to the fiscal court, because when somebody raises a tax, somebody spends a little bit more money than they've got, the residents of Berea and Richmond and Madison County don't look at them, they look at us. They really feel like that we're the ones that have the authority to dictate. And we don't. We really don't. We appoint the board members, but I don't think anybody could look at any board member on any one of those taxing districts and complain about them, because they do a heck of a job. So, you know, I think the growth's going to start back. I think things are going to get better. And hopefully that will allow the reassessments of property to go up where none of the taxing districts have to raise taxes. But you have to understand, we're in a tough time right now. And we're obligated to provide services to the residents, whether it be Mayor Barnes in Richmond or Mayor Conley or in Berea or myself. We have to provide those services, and sometimes you have to do what you have to do, and that's, you have to look at your taxes. And I'm not saying that we won't. I mean, we really might have to. So they're all doing an excellent job. They've all got some surplus and stuff. Want to talk just a few minutes? Mary Beth and the kids are looking at me. Okay. Projects going on, Barnes Mill, we've done the winery, the hill, the Old Page Hill. We've done the hill section. We've done the section from the bottom of the hill to the creek. We just like the creek, the bridge, and to the bottom of Page Hill. We've been held up over a year, but we've got the money in funding to do that. And it's advertised, matter of fact, to start construction in the spring. We haven't looked at the proposals yet, but last week we just had one in. We're going to try to finish that project up. It's about $600,000-700,000. Whitehall's huge project. We got started, and I've talked to you all about it 8 or 10 years ago when Harry and I went to see Secretary Latta, and wanted 100 acres around Whitehall to protect the shrine from development 100 years from now. And we were able to negotiate with the family and buy the 97 acres. Built the lake in-house, and it's developed into, we waited and waited until we got some money, and now we've got about 1.8 miles of 10-foot wide blacktop trails. We have $1 million in transportation funding to widen the road from 25 into Whitehall and include a 10-foot wide walk and bike trail there. We've also were approved 2 years ago, and we've just haven't had time to get to it, an $80,000 IST grant to do another 2.2 miles around the back of Whitehall, all the way around the property. So probably in the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to see a new road into the park. You're going to see about 6.5 miles of walk and bike trails. The lake turned out, we entered into agreement with Fish and Wildlife. They're stocking it 4 times a year. You know, we were looking at limiting it to 16 and under. Well, how do you do that? Now anybody can go fish whenever they want to with the playground equipment stuff. Boonesboro exit, which ties into this. Funding has been made available. They're working on right-of-way and utilities right now. It's going to be about a $45 million project. They're going to include the new interchange over I-75. So we'll see probably that let in spring of 13. That's going to be an interesting project. Widening of US 25, that's been let, I think, soon as spring. The weather allows it. The utilities are done. They'll start construction on that. The D-mill facility, it's continuing. We're funded this year and next year. I don't think that anybody, and Senator McConnell, he kind of assured us the other day that the Secretary of the Army had agreed that this was a very important project, and I think we're going to see that continue. They're adding about 100 jobs a year out there. We're looking at completion probably, worst case scenario, 22, 23, but we're looking at 19 or 20 probably. So we're planning and working with the chambers, and we have working groups, economic development working groups, to plan right now in 12 what we're going to do in 20 with not only the D-mill facility, but if something happens to the Army, the shipping side, which very well could happen. Defense is looking at cutting billions and billions and billions of dollars, and they're going to look at these small installations. So it's a fact that we have to look at. The next BRAC comes up in 2015, so we're really fighting right now to work with them to ensure that we make it through like 15 and then maybe to 20. And then, worst case scenario, the two cities in the county come together to really take advantage of that 15,000 acres out there and the infrastructure that's unreal. I mean, the new D-mill facility has electric to run Richmond. So there are a lot of things out there that we can take advantage of if something happens. I hope it doesn't happen. I mean, the D-mill side's working about 600 people now, about 250 people in Richmond with the engineering corporate part of it. 11 to 1,200 on the shipping side, averaging $45,000 a year. That's a huge, huge economic impact for Richmond and Bree and Madison County. Going to close a little bit on the Arts Center because that's where we are going right now to see The Wizard of Oz. It's just mind-boggling. It's been a huge success. I have to give credit to President Whitlock and the board and the executive director, Debbie Hoskins, because she stepped in. She came in last February and took over, and it's been just astronomical success. And next year's going to be better. So this is something that doesn't affect just Richmond and Berea and Madison County. This is a regional and even a statewide thing. They're looking at cars that are coming from other states to see some of these shows, and it's a very diverse show. I mean, you're getting people, different people that are coming to see the different shows. So it's probably, as President Whitlock said when he introduced Senator McConnell the other day, this is probably going to be one of the biggest efforts, one of the biggest projects that will affect Madison County from now on because of the regionalism and bringing people into the state. And I truly believe that. I think it'll get better and better and better. And that means really a huge impact for Richmond and Berea and Madison County. So these are just a few things that are going on. As I always say, and I love to say it, Madison County, Richmond and Berea is the most wonderful place to live and work, raise a family, get an education, and retire. And I don't really think anybody could argue with me. I mean, if you look at all the aspects of the quality of life that we're accustomed to, a lot of people are spoiled in Madison County. When something doesn't go just right, they want to call and complain, and you'd like to say, well, look at all the good things you have. But you can't do that. We try to address all those things. And things are good. Financially, closing out on that, we've balanced, since I've been here 18 years, we've balanced 18 budgets. We've had a positive cash flow at the end of each one of those fiscal years. We've had to spend a little bit of our rainy day fund. We had not a really good sheriff and clerk's settlement last year, about $1.2 million, but that isn't going to happen anymore because we're working with the new sheriff and the new clerk to make sure, to ensure to the taxpayers that that doesn't happen anymore. So we're on a positive track. Like I said, we haven't had to lay anybody off. We haven't cut. We're continuing to upgrade services, just like the recycling. We're looking at other aspects of things that we can do for the public that we won't have to raise taxes for. So I'm very encouraged about the future. I'm very excited about the future for Madison County and Richmond and Berea. I think we're just one of the best places in the whole world to live. So again, I want to thank the League for giving me the opportunity to say a few words about our wonderful county. And if I don't see anybody in here that wants to ask any questions. So we're right on track.
Thank you, Judge, so very much.
Well,
I'd like to tell you that this address will be replayed on Channel 46 from Friday, January 13th, which is tomorrow, through Friday, January 20th. And I also want to remind the people here, our audience, and the people who are watching and who will watch on replay, the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization of women and men who promote political responsibility through informed government and action on selected issues. The League sponsors candidate forums, promotes voter registration, and holds public meetings on issues of importance to citizens. And the League thanks Judge Clark for his service to Madison County.
thank you very
you, sir.
much. Appreciate it.